Welcome back to the City of Palms podcast. We're here today with Darby Neil. So you're an artist, you're a local artist,
Yes.
right? That's cool.
Painting and drawing and jewelry, whatever things I can do with my hands. I start making candles.
That's it. Yeah, you're talented. I seen you on the gram and like, I'm like, man, yeah, she's killing it. Anything you want to get into right away?
Yeah, last week we had Lutz, and this is his girlfriend, Darby.
Hello.
And, one thing, did you grow up around here? Did you grow up in Florida?
I was born here. I was born in Naples.
Oh, so,
I like unicorn.
did you go to high school there in Naples?
Naples High or?
I went to Gulf Coast for 2 years, and then I went to Dyer for 2 years.
True.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, were you in any, art programs or anything? Were you, like, super artistic back then?
I was, but I never wanted to do art classes because my last one was in 5th grade, like the ones that are in your regular class schedule.
Yeah.
And just like having someone tell me what to draw just made it so much harder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I have to make it to look like that. So I noticed at home I was doing a lot more, so I just would never pay attention. But I did dance mostly in like high school and growing up. So I did dance line for like a week until I sat in a room with all the girls and I was like, holy shit, I'm not doing this.
Did you ever have ceramics in any school?
I had it in Gulf Coast, but I took actually graphic design instead. And I'm like certified in Photoshop. I actually did that as my previous job. I was a graphic designer and like catalog maker for a jewelry store.
What?
That's sick,
That's
dude.
crazy.
So, worst thing in the world to photograph diamonds, by the way, because no camera is white. So you just get black specks everywhere and you have to edit it out and edit it how it, like without editing out scratches because you have to sell it as it looks, which is just so hard.
Dang, I
But-
bet.
So you would do the photography and the editing?
Yeah, so I would,
Wow.
every piece we got in the store, like whether it was from like Gucci or like Rolex or something, or like the pre-owned stuff people would come in and sell, and I would photograph it and then I would put it online and sell it and like talk to the people. Which would suck because I once put something online that was like $68,000 for $6,800, and I went to the bathroom. Within 5 minutes, someone fucking bought it, and my boss was so pissed. I was like crying, and I'm like, I'm so.
Did you have to like message them and like there was actually supposed to be another zero?
We literally had to like close our eBay account for like 3 months because of it. Because we were like in eBay jail. It was so bad, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I have to work here for like the rest of my life to pay it off if we have to sell it, but
Damn.
it was all good. But that was really, like, if you're holding something that's $1 million, like, over a marble floor, it's just so much fucking exciting. So you're like, I can't even pay for this if I drop it.
Yeah.
Wait, so there were things in that store that were worth that much?
Oh, yeah. I photographed a ring that was, like 16.2 carat, and it was like 2.5 million.
Oh, wow.
It is insane the size of them, and you're just like, what the fuck is the point of buying that much? Like, you could
A house.
a house, a car, you could buy a hospital, you could buy a
dozen
country.
cars.
Like, why would you do that? It's just so.
I think that about watches sometimes. I see people wearing watches that are like $1 million, and I was like,
It's so the watches I appreciate a little more because we had a certified Rolex maker, so I would always watch him, and like they have like 6 lenses on their glasses, and they have the tiniest tools,
oh wow.
and every little tiny gear is hand put in, and like it's like an art form, but it's just so sad. Half of it you're buying the name, like the exact same components, makeup of it can be as same as a watch that is $1,000, and people are like, "Oh my god, it says Rolex, so I'm gonna pay $1 million for it."
Yeah, that's like with clothes. Like I feel like half designer clothes is just because it has that symbol on it.
Exactly, and I learned that too because I would do like purses and stuff. People would sell us like houses, cars, and when I would photograph those, I would have to look up like the stitching and everything, and literally nothing is different except for the name. And they're like, "Oh, all the stitches are in a pattern." I'm like, "Isn't that what a stitch is? A pattern of it?" Like, so
Every
our
stitch?
purses in Walmart, like what the fuck? My purse is better, okay, because it says Gucci on it. All right, understandable.
Okay.
It's so pointless.
So was your getting certified in those softwares, was that sort of part of getting the job? Being certified in those? I always wondered
Yeah.
that.
I actually got certified in high school, though, because in my graphic design class, they had the option, and I was like, why not? Because I was pretty good at it, and I got certified in everything Adobe, but when I went in for the job, I just mentioned it. They're like, oh, have you ever tried photography? And I'm like, actually, like, I'm certified in Photoshop, and then I was going to be their, like, inventory person, but then they just made a job for me as the graphic designer.
That's cool.
So, it was really cool.
I had friends that did that. They were certified, because I got certified in all the Microsoft works, which is cool in itself, but I had friends that were certified in all the Adobe stuff, and I was like, damn, now, especially since I use Premiere Pro, I'm like, if only I had, like,
it's so easy to do. And, like, if you're good at those, like, you can learn Photoshop, like, it's...
I've been wanting to get, like, Photoshop and Illustrator and use that, especially because I use the art tablet, like, I don't use those apps, I just use, like, a free sketchbook thing, and, like...
Is it the... Adobe, the little app, is it like a pencil on it with an orange background?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use the same one.
That's the one I use. It works.
It has so many brushes and it's free. And I'm like, what the hell? Why is this free?
And endless layers and stuff like that. But, so when did, I imagine since you're artistic, you've probably drawn and doodled and stuff your whole life.
Yeah.
But when did you, like, when did you really start, like, painting and, like, really kind of take that off? Was that more recent?
No, more in high school, I was kind of finding, like, my niche with, like, the detailed drawings, and then I started painting, but that I didn't really get, like, good at or, like, really take the time to learn until, like, probably 4 or 5 years ago. But I was always painting my room, because my parents were so chill and, like, hippies, so my dad was in construction. He would make, like, he made me this beautiful chest out of, like, oak wood, and he's, like, an artist with wood. And then my mom I came home one day and she's painting palm tree mural on the wall. And I was like, oh, like, that's really cool. And I was watching her hand and I was like, that's pretty easy. And then I just learned how to do palm trees from watching her. But growing up was seeing how instead of, like, going out to buy something to change the house, my mom would, like, repurpose, paint, do all this weird shit. And I was like, oh. Like, this woman's like MacGyver with art stuff. So I just learned from watching her. She would take sponges from, like, the dishes, and she would, like, fuck them up and, like, take knives to them to make them weird textures. And then she did this, like, that on a wall in our house and made it, like, look Tuscany.
Our mom did the exact same thing. No joke. Like, we have furniture still to this day in her house that she painted with, like, sponge paint.
And it looks so cool. It looks like that, like, Italian, like...
Yeah.
Old wall kind of stuff. And did she do it with, like, burnt orange color?
Yeah.
Straight mom.
Bro, but straight up, that inspired me to be artistic, you know, and, like, fix my own stuff and, like paint your own walls and stuff like that.
Because when you get the freedom to do that too, like, I asked my mom one day, I'm like, can I paint my room? She's like, go for it. What colors do you want? Like, get brushes from dad and you're good. Just don't make it look bad. She let my brother literally take a paintball gun to his room and do his whole room. But it looked fucking awesome. But we soon learned that paintball paint never dries. I don't know if it's, like, super, super oil-based, but for, like, years, you would go on the wall and it would be, like, paint goo.
Man.
It was so bad, but it looked fucking dope.
So when you started painting and stuff, was all that just self-taught? Like, or did you have, like, certain people in your life that sort of showed you how to do stuff? And
all self-taught.
Yeah.
I just, like, looked at stuff, and I would just look at, like, the outlines on things, but every time I would try to do, like, a hand or, like, a face, something, I would fuck it up, and then it would look so weird, so then I would just make it drip and, like, make it look super distorted, so I think that's where I kind of started finding my actual, like, niche, like, my style, but...
Do you use a lot of different types of paints and stuff, and brushes and stuff like that, or do you have, like, kind of, like, a certain thing is your go-to?
I actually cut all my brushes with, like, eyebrow scissors.
Really?
So half of my brushes, some of them have, like, 3 hairs, I kid you not, on them.
What?
And, like, I get one use out of them, and then they curl. But some of them aren't thin enough. Like, the really thin brushes you can get, you know how they're, like, that long? I don't like them because I don't have, like, control over it. It's not, none of my lines are straight, and I do a lot of line work. So I'll cut that in half, and then I cut, like, half that, and I make it to a point where it has, like, 4 hairs. And then I'll either do that, or depending on the style, I, like, keep brushes that I've had for, like, 10 years, even from when I was little. And I keep those for, like, texture brushes. And, like, when I did his logo, it was, the way he did it on an app he has was, like, it kind of looked like the loots was painted.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let me like fuck up this brush and kind of make it just look like a super shitty brush so I can get those like edges. But sometimes I'll paint with like my fingers, or I've even painted with like sticks on the beach and stuff with like that. So
well, that's cool. See, that's interesting because I did take art classes. I wasn't in like any art programs, but I took classes and like I had the official talks about like the color wheel and like stuff like that, and mixing paints and like different types of paints and how you use different types of paints for different things. But I still feel so like whenever I go to paint, I rarely use like brush, and like I only use acrylics really because it's the cheapest. But like I don't even know what the heck I'm doing, so I just kind of like fuck around and like see what works.
Like that's better.
That's like part of it, yeah. Like how you can just use your fingers or just like cut your own brushes because you realize like maybe like with spray paint, I've learned I don't know anything about spray paint. Like I didn't learn from anyone or like whatever. I just sort of fuck around with it, and then whatever works. And I've like found little techniques. But yeah, it's like that trial and error thing as an artist of just figuring out what works.
Because some just like the way you do things might work better, but if someone else tries that technique, just the way they like move their hand could look different.
Have you ever, I don't know if this is a thing in like all art or whatever, but with like the stuff I do and like spray paint and like especially grip tape art stuff, there's certain pages I follow and they never really like show process videos, and I wonder because they'll use stencils and stuff, and from the get-go like there was a certain group couple of people that I looked at as like, wow, that looks so cool, how the heck did they do that, like with stencils and spray paint. And I would just like look at all their posts, like all their paintings, and be like, how did they do that with stencils? And I would like have to figure it out for myself because they don't have like process videos. You do that too?
Every time I'm like, oh my god, that looks so cool, and I'm looking at everything on their page and I'm like, how did you do that?
What paint did you use?
And I feel like sometimes I know why they're doing it because I do it sometimes too. I'll figure out like I used it's like the really thin metallic sheets that are used to like put on coating things. But I used it for painting, so it would look like gold flakes coming off. And I like used hairspray and all this stuff. And so many people asked me to do a tutorial, and I'm like I want you to find out. I just like never answered, and I'm like, I feel kind of bad, but like I don't want you to make the same thing. But then I get pissed off when I can't find a technique.
Yeah, and see me like because I noticed none of these people who have been doing grip tape art forever and like spray paint stencil art, none of them really have videos on how they do it or like process like time-lapse type videos, so I couldn't figure it out. I had to just like kind of play around with it, and like it's so crazy because I would think I know how they do it to like not make the spray paint, because it's spray paint goes everywhere, so like to get it to not get on any part of the grip tape, I had to like play around with it, and I think I know how they do it, and I'm like, okay, this is really hard. And then I would realize, then there would be a little snippet of like them painting, and I notice like I see something, and I'm like,
and you're like,
that's how they fucking do it. So
then
then I try that, and then that would work. But it's crazy, like going through that process of like figuring out how they do it, you know.
And that happens so often. Like, I'll always think, I'm like, oh, okay, this is probably what they did to do that. And then I try it. Like, even something simple like cutting off some things with painter's tape, I'll look, and sometimes when I take it off, it just like fucks up.
Yeah, like all smudged.
Yeah, and I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, I thought I did it, and then like I see that they have like a little part on their canvas that they didn't paint, that they put the tape on, and I'm like,
yeah, and like I almost feel bad because I do all sorts of like pictures and videos of process, and like I have my whole YouTube channel. A lot of the videos that like I post a lot are just time-lapse videos of me painting and stuff. So I even have a video called How I Make My Stencils. So I show the layering process and like
I need to watch that.
Yeah,
actually,
dude, that's my most popular video.
That
like my skate videos don't really get many views, but that one got a whole bunch of views.
Stencils are. I got like an X-Acto knife, all this stuff because I just. Like, if you go down to Wiggins Fridge, there's, like, a giant heart, and it says, follow your heart, and I, like, painted it one day, because I was just like, I want to graffiti everything, and Nordy was with me, and the worst thing happened of fucking, like, out of a movie, like, I had to take my shoes off, because it's on a slant, and I was, like, gripping with my toes, and I go to put my shoes back on, and I had fuzzy socks in my shoes, and I go to take the socks out, and I grabbed a fucking rat. Like, literally in my hand. First of all, it was probably the softest thing I've ever touched in my fucking life, and I was like, this is disgusting, and I, like, threw it. I was like, what the fuck?
Damn, you're just going to throw it away, dude.
I felt so bad. He was so soft, but the first thing I thought was like, oh my god, rabies.
Chuck
What
Ratatouille.
if somebody grabs you and just, like, chucked you? Poor guy. But he's
He'd feel
alright.
worse. But, when I was doing that, I wanted to do stencils because after I did it all freehand, I was like, son of a bitch. Like, that was... And people kept walking by. It was like 11 at night, so I'd have to like hide in the bushes. And I'm like, all my paint is right there. Like, they know someone's here.
Wait, did you use like a paint bucket because of how big it was?
Yeah. Well, like, what
or
are
like house
they?
paint?
You can get them at Walmart. It's like the bigger acrylic paint. It's not huge. It's like maybe a pint, I think. It was super. I should have had something bigger. It was like the worst process ever because I had my whole hand like covered in blue paint because I was like scraping the bottom of it and like trying to hold it and to go over. So after I did that, I was like, I need to do fucking stencils. That was a bitch. And like you just need to go and leave so you get the fuck out of there. And so I was with him and I got like an X-Acto knife, like paper for stencils, and I'm trying to cut it out and I'm like, I don't understand what parts I should leave and what parts I should
it's hard.
I thought it was so easy and I'm like, oh, I'll just do it like kind of 3D, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea. And the first thing I thought it was you, and I'm like, how the fuck does he do that with so many different things?
It's like your mind's got to work a little different. Like, and it's honestly helped my like brush painting because I have always had a problem with like shading and like finding where shadows go and stuff. So like I never tried it. But like with Lady Gaga there, all like that is something.
Her hair.
If I saw that like a year ago, 2 years ago when I started this painting, I would be like, how the hell? But
that's how I feel about it. I'm like, how the fuck
because you realize like you can make certain shapes based on like two different stencils. If they come together at the right point, they'll make a certain shape that one stencil can't make.
I think you told me about that before you using two and everything. And still, I'm like,
it takes time though. Like it's a process, and like everyone does it a little different. But
I just gotta watch it. I'll be watching that
for sure. Yeah, because I go over in detail, kind of like the black layer is like the key one to like really make everything like, and that's why I want to start live painting because. Like, anytime I'm just here, like, in my garage or, like, whatever in the yard, like, painting, even just the guys that are walking through. The other day when I was painting the Joker that's out there, they were all watching me, and, like, we had a lot of people coming and going that day from the house, and, like, there was a point where, like, everyone, like, all, like, 7 to 10 people were watching me paint this, and I was just like...
it's so
because you don't realize what it's gonna be until you put that black layer on and paint it, and then you peel it off, and that's my favorite part to film, is, like, once you take off that black layer, it's like, there it is.
It's like on a tattoo when they do, like, the foamy,
yes,
like, soap, and then they unveil it, and you're like...
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, I want to start live painting for that.
I actually like separate, but like I totally want to start doing like, because at Kava we would sometimes do the live paint, like Kevin, and one time we had like 4 people in one canvas, which was sick because we had so many different styles in one. And I want to do stuff like that because it would just be like, that is so fun to watch, literally someone start out with a blank canvas, not knowing what the hell, and just watching them with like music going on. Like,
so speaking of Kava, like, I kind of want to know, at what point did art really start taking off? Like, was it, like, a more internal thing where you're like, this is really fun, I want to keep doing this? Or was it more so, like, people telling you, you're really good at this, you should keep doing this? Like, was it, or maybe a mixture of both?
It was kind of mixture of both. So, I never did an art show before that, and I was actually, like, in an abusive kind of relationship, so I wasn't really able to, like, do anything with my art. But when I got out of it, the hippie circle invited me when they were at Kava to do the art part, and I was like, oh, that sounds so fun. And when I went, I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. And when they stopped it, it was so sad because I was like, damn, that was, like, what I looked forward to every week. It kind of made me produce more because it kind of put, like, a little bit of anxiety. Like, I need that push because I just don't do things until the last second.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm just high all the time. But I need that like little push to be like, hey, like Thursday's coming up, you better make some more hats, because now I notice I have not been doing a lot because my job now. But after they stopped it, Casey had moved in with me and Nick, and we were talking one day and we were like, we should start an event there. And then I was like, we need to do art too because that was just so fun. And then after we started it, it just took off. And then so many artists, a lot of them I knew from like the hippie circle, but like so many artists are like reaching out and so many people were coming, and it was, it makes me want to cry. Like, it was so beautiful to see just all these people coming together. Nobody even gave, like, I didn't care if I sold anything any week. It was just like seeing new people and seeing, like, the first time I saw Molly and all the people going up to her table and her like all cute and smiling, I was like, this is so cute. And then seeing her like making money that she can do something with and buy more supplies and like help her art just from going there, it's just so awesome.
It is. And that was Kevin Ortega, right when I moved back to Florida, he contacted me and said, hey, you should, because I never, like, I've always done art and stuff, and when I lived in Pennsylvania, I started doing the stencil art and selling grip tape and stuff for skateboarders, and then when I got down back to Florida, he hit me up, and he was like, hey, there's this place, Kava Culture, they like, you can sell your art and stuff, you should come down sometime, and I was like, I thought about it, I was like, why not? So I went, and it was so, like, that honestly, like, it kind of inspired this in a way, because that really, like, kind of opened my eyes to the local scene and stuff, and realizing that, like, even just in that one little tiny, like, niche of Bonita Springs, like, there's so many cool people from, like, FGCU and, like, performers and artists and, like, just everyone together.
How much talent is in this?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking insane. And actually, like...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and I was really upset to end it, but I just, with my job now is so demanding and takes so much out of me, I was like, I don't want to do something unless I'm giving it my all, because I want to be able to answer people and let them know, like, hey, you can come, bring your stuff, give them details about it, but I wasn't able to do that, so I was like, I talked to Nordy and everything, and so did Casey, and when he took it over, I was so happy to see it keep going, because that's such a nice outlet, because we're out, like, in Naples, Florida, but even just in Florida, in this part, people come here to die. There's nowhere for us to go and to have those outlets, because, like, if you've ever been to the Naples art shows, they are, like, first of all, you have to be judged to attend it by a board of 6 80-year-olds that are not artists, not painters, not anything artsy. They're like old attorneys, random people who are retired, and they judge your art. And one of them looked at my pieces and she was like, this is terrifying. And she was like, I don't know if they're gonna like it. And I was like, okay, so you're gonna have a bunch of 80-year-old people paint beach scenes that all look the same. Awesome, great, very artsy.
What?
Yeah, it is. It's sad. And they all talk about how artsy it is in Naples. I'm like, no, you guys are so afraid of art. You only have the same artists who do it's nice art, but it's old fine art. It's all the same. No matter what artist it is, it looks the same. But then you have people like, if you don't know who he is, Marcus Sauter, he is so dope. Like, he's done murals around, like, a lot of places in Naples, and he's kind of, like, pushing them out and, like, being like, hey, like, my graffiti's good. Like, I'm not doing stupid names on the side of the building. I'm doing, like, giant murals of Salvador Dali, like, and his mustache, like, going on for miles. That looks so cool. So it's cool to see, like, him kind of invade it, but it's hard because those people are intimidating. I was gonna ask about that because I know, like, in the music scene, especially hip hop, like, it is kind of, like, competitive, and there's like we were talking in Lutz's episode about how sometimes you, like, kind of get vibed out because, like, there's different styles of hip hop and not every crowd is into that. And I liked Kava because for, like, someone, especially like someone like me, I experienced it, like, starting out as an artist, I didn't really show my stuff, so it's hard to go to some of these, like, bigger events because you, like, I looked into Art Walk in Fort Myers, like, I thought about that, and that's something you have to apply to and, like, show a portfolio and, like, get approved and whatever, and, like, that's way more intimidating because you're thinking, like, because if they say no, then you have that in the back of your head, like, why don't you, like, you take it so much more personal. Like, if someone came up to me and they were like, you are the ugliest person I've ever seen in my life, I'd be like, okay. But if they were like, I hate your art, I would probably go into a deep depression and be like,
because every artist, I feel like, is so, like, kind of inner self-conscious about their stuff. So, so, like, to go to one of these big events or something, or, like, to try, like we were talking about with rap and open mics, that's nice because you can test it out and, like, kind of get a feel for performing. Somewhere like Kava, a smaller, close-knit, like, really good environment of people who just, like, are just spreading love.
And you have some of your friends there to kind of
help
you. Like, you're like, okay, I'll just stare at you while I'm on the mic. Like,
like, I remember Jesse Jones, you know him, right? Jesse, he does art with paint markers.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
And so
he's
the first time I saw, like, I talked to him, him and his girlfriend are so cool.
They are.
And I was talking to her because I was like, Victor originally showed me one of his things. He's like, dude, like, you would love his art because you with the small detail shit. Like, dude, I was looking at it, I was blown away. And he started like a year or two ago. I was like, imagine if he started when he was like 10. Like, how he's gonna be in 10 years.
Wow.
Like, and for those events, like, we wouldn't know him if it wasn't for these little events. Like,
it reminds me, you know who Chris Dyer is? Do you know him? He does huge. He has a similar style to like the intricacy and stuff. And he does huge mural type. I mean, he's a fantastic artist in general, and he's really like famous and stuff. But he does big murals, and they're kind of like how Jesse is with like his little tiny like. And the closer you look, the more little lines you notice. And I remember we know each other through skateboarding, and I remember he knew about me starting to like show my art, and I'd post it more on the internet and stuff. And he came to Cabo one time, and he was just chilling, and he was telling me because I knew he did art too, and he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about setting up, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I was telling him, like, dude, if I have a good time here, like, I feel like my art compared to other people, like, I don't know if people are into it because it's, like, skateboard grip tape and stuff like that.
But even if you're not into skateboard, like, it's so fucking cool. And you have, like, I just love your art because it's dark and
Thank you. Thank you. But I was telling him, I'm like, dude, do it. People will love your, because... Yeah, it's all, and it's cool to see him really like starting to flourish now, he's doing a lot of cool stuff.
And to be like confident with it, but like you should look at Alex Party too. Do you know who that is?
Alex Party? Mm-mm.
He does a lot of you can't see it because I have notifications.
Oh wow!
A lot of dark shit. I'll tag you in something of his. He does a lot of like he has like this bunny called I think it's like. Bunny's-worth or something weird, and it's always like dead or has like another bunny like coming out of its side. It's all dark, like weird shit, but it's so cool.
But into the like competitiveness, like I was wondering about that with like the art, because you know more about like the art scene than I do, and you've been to like more formal art shows. Have you noticed any? Because I noticed like, you ever feel judgment from like other artists and stuff?
Oh yeah, and I feel like there have been like times where I definitely feel judged, and then times where I feel like some stuff is like stolen from me. Like
really?
Yes. Oh yeah, like after I start like there's one like hats and stuff like that. If you paint like that's not stealing someone's idea. Like we can all paint the same thing, but it's like another thing. Like melting eyes are very like, and once I started going more out with my art and posting it a lot more, I started seeing other artists that like knew me and that I've spoken to before doing like the same shit as me, and I'm like,
it's one thing, but like
how are you gonna like
very similar.
Like yeah, there were a lot of them, and there was one circumstance where this person was literally like asked me about a piece of mine. I did one of the like human hearts but in all dots. And she was like asking about it, and then she literally did like the same thing, and all that, like literally in the same vicinity, like 10 feet away from me. And I was like, dude.
And then what if hers sells, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I'm like, I also run the event. Like, come on,
get out of here.
It was literally like the same.
It was so crazy. There have been so many things like that, but I don't really like. I don't care too much about that stuff because I try to take it as a compliment, even though I'll be like, what the fuck? But then I'm like, dude, you were looking at my stuff so long that you wanted to create something just like it. Yeah. So, you're welcome.
And that's something, honestly, when I was first starting art, that's something I was super, like, aware of, because in, like, the skateboard grip tape, like, there's certain people who, like, kind of, like, did it in the skate industry, and, like, big grip tape companies would sell their stuff, and they had, like, a very basic, like, 3 stencil process where it's, like, white layer, color layer, black layer, and then, like, you'd see people all the time steal designs. Like, I remember I've had friends who have had certain grip tape designs, and I thought, there's this guy named Mouse, who's, like, a very famous...
Yes,
you know Mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so his grip tape, that's, like, he's, like, who everyone looks to, like, grip tape art, because he does dope stuff. And so, I would look at his stuff. Like, I would look at all his designs, and I'd look at the details, and, like, try to figure out how he did the stencils the way he did, and, like, how he layered it. So I was always, like, really self-conscious about, like, do your own design though, because like you don't want to copy. And there was only one time that happened to me. Like I made the Pennywise that I always paint. I think there's one right there. But that was one of the first ones I did, and it's just a basic 3-layer white, red, and then black. And I noticed someone like a smaller grip tape Instagram that was like trying to do grip tape art had another Pennywise, and it was exactly like I should have taken a screenshot. I guess I could probably find it, but like I wanted to take a screenshot because it was almost the same face, like the same like layout, and even the hair, like how I did the like little black layer of like little frizzies. It was like almost the same, and I don't care. Like it was kind of flattering to know like he probably looked at my Instagram and studied it, but I was like I'm always aware of like to make your own stuff, because I'm super, like, I never want to be like that, to where it's
Exactly.
like, you know, because you want to make your own art, and you don't want to be, like, fronting on, just like with music, you don't want to be copying someone's style, you want to have your own stuff.
Exactly. And it's cool to be, like, inspired, but, like, just like that, like, taking the same, like, be inspired by it, but, like, do it a little differently.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like, be your own person.
Yeah. This is random, but do you usually use reference images, or do you like, think of stuff more? Because your stuff's really abstracted.
Like, he'll give me random ideas. Like, one time I was like, I want to do a weird creature, and he was like, just do, like, a big head with a bunch of eyeballs falling off, and I was like, yeah. And, like, that's the one I, like, named Gertrude. And, like, some things I'll just, honestly, like, people think there's, like, this whole deep meaning, and it's like, oh, this is all, like, the chaos in the world, but essentially, I just get super high, and then I just, like, start drawing something, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna make tentacles coming out of the head, and then I'm gonna make it melt, and then I'm gonna set it on fire. And then I just, even if I try to make it, like, cute, like, one time I tried to do, it was supposed to be, like, a super retro heart with just outlines of different colors, like, going on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just turned into I don't know if you saw, it was, like, a heart with, like, a bunch of, like, dark, looked like veins around it.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be, like, super happy and, like, retro, and then it went, like, way down dark hill. Like, it always happens. I'll try, like, I'll use a reference if it's, like, a hand or something, because I just cannot do realistic, because as soon as I mess up, I'm like, ooh, I messed up. I can do, like, a drip right there, add another finger, or 10 fingers, and then it always gets weird. I try, and then it gets weird.
There's not a stigma against using references as an artist, right? Like, someone like Nuvia probably uses references, right? Oh, yeah. Because I remember as a kid, when I would always draw cartoons. Like, that was, like, my first, like, form of art was cartoons. And I would always just try to sit there with a sketchbook and just, like, think of something. And then, like if I wanted to draw, like, a mailman, I would just think, like, what's a mailman look like? And try to draw him. But, or like a car. Like, what's a Ferrari look like? And then, like, try to draw it. But then it's, like, that's so hard, you know? Like, you just look at a picture.
You don't know. You're looking at it, and you're like, am I doing this right? Like, I feel like references are sometimes essential, because if you're trying to compliment something, like, if I'm doing a portrait of you, like, if I do it just from memory, that's not, like, that would be cool to do, like, as in, this is a from memory, see how good you are at your remembering.
Yeah.
Like, but to do something of someone or of something, it's just, I feel like you need that reference, even if it's just, like, you looking at it. Like, the people sitting at the beach with canvases and everything like that, them doing it at home, the colors aren't probably going to be as true, or they might see, like, pink and then flood it with this crazy pink just because they saw that one thing. I feel like it almost is a little bit better, because sometimes you get more ideas from that, because sometimes I get crazy, like, art block, and I'll just sit there staring at a blank page, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I guess I'll do a fucking eyeball. Like, that's always my go-to.
Dude, my sketchbook is full of just the same shit. Fucking eyeballs.
It's because it's so easy. Like,
and they're cool.
Exactly. And then, like, my thing is, once I start doing something, I get too crazy with that thing. Yeah. Like, with the eyeballs. And then I got into sunflowers, and it was sunflowers everywhere. And I'm like, okay, you need to tone it down.
I'm bad about, because a lot of my art is, like fan art type stuff to cater to, like, different fan groups and whatever. So, like, if I'm into a show, like, I think every Batman thing, like, my grip tape right now is Batman, and I painted that Joker, and I think that Joker too, all came about because I was watching the show Gotham. So and I scrapped all my other ideas, and I'm like, I'm gonna make the Joker.
That happened, like, we've been rewatching Dexter, because I didn't know this before we started dating, but he's never seen it. That might have changed some things, but
we're working through it.
We are, but I found out I don't remember a lot of the show, so it is fun. But now that I'm watching, like, have you ever seen it?
I've been, like, in the room while people watch it, but I've never actually watched it myself.
Watch it, it's amazing. But he's, like, a blood splatter analyst and also a serial killer. But every time I see, like, the blood splatter parts, I'm like, oh my god, that's so... And I want to do, like, I don't know how the fuck I would do it, but I want to do, like, the shape, like, the human heart, but with just splatters.
Yeah.
But I don't know how, like, I would probably have to do a lot of painter's tape and everything, but every time I watch it, I'm like, god, I need just a white room so I can, like, buckets and just, like...
That'd be so cool. I've got so many ideas like that where it's like you kind of like think that'd be so cool, but especially with stencils, like there's certain things that I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I'd do that though.
Exactly. Or like the space, you're like, where can I be like, hi, would you mind if I, went inside this room of your house and threw around like 40 to 50 gallons of paint, which I probably wouldn't clean up. Is that okay with you? Like, probably not. But just the space with doing some stuff and the time.
For sure. All right, I don't want to cut too you got something before we take a break?
How do you paint hats? Like,
so I do like 50 layers of the paint first because like it seeps down into the fabric, so I'll do a lot of layers, and then I just put Mod Podge. I used to do just like the regular finish over it, but it was kind of dull, and then I started doing like the super gloss on it, and it's really nice. And that's like, if it gets wet, you're good. I haven't tried to wash them or anything yet, but I'm sure hand washing as long as you're like not scrubbing. But I mean, it stays on. It's so easy. And I've done it on some shirts and stuff. It just washing them, just like hand wash only. But it's so, especially if you don't have like a heat press or something, like you could literally stencil it on shirts and just keep the stencil there, and then just put the gloss over it, and then wait for it to dry, and then take it off. Or put gloss over the whole piece. But just the gloss, I feel like, keeps it there.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they look super sick from what I've seen.
That's a good idea, too, especially for somewhere like where you're selling art. Like, other than just having a canvas that, like, if someone wants to hang in their house, that's cool.
That's
like,
why I wanted to do it, because
I'm pretty sure it's like been rained on before. We've had them in the rain.
Oh, yeah. At Cabo one time, my whole table flew into the rain.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, because everybody, like, Victor helped me, and everybody, like, stood around. And I was like, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, right there.
Someone stepped on like one of my drawings, and I was like,
what?
Yeah, in a puddle too.
Well, on paper?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, what a dick.
It was pencil, thank God. So like, at least it didn't like. It was just a sketch, but I was like, oh, you better like go home fast, because I might accidentally like run into you and then reverse and then go forward again, and then it might just get stuck in that way for a little bit.
Yo, have some spatial awareness.
There's
art on the ground.
Exactly. Like, dude, like if I see someone's art, like I will
tiptoe.
Or I will run into the fucking pouring rain and I will grab your damn canvas.
Yeah,
but like I don't
sure.
get how people can just be like, oh, sucks. I'll just be here watching. You got that? I'll supervise you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break just for the sake of cameras, but we'll be right back with the second half. Enjoy the ads. The City of Palms podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show onto all the apps people use? How do I make money from the podcast? And the answer to all this is really simple: Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. Me and Danny searched all over the internet for different outlets for distributing and recording, and for websites that would host our podcast, and a lot of them you have to pay money, or it's really complicated, and especially for someone just starting out. And Anchor really was an answer to all that, because you can record straight on Anchor. It's very user friendly, and it's totally free. We don't have to pay a penny to use this, and so it's great for anyone who's wanting to start out. And so if you're wanting to start your own podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. And I do have one more thing I want to add before we get back to this week's episode, and I'll try to make it brief. So let's say you're a fan of Professor Shred in any aspect, whether it's City of Palms podcast, or my skateboarding YouTube channel, or my art at Shred Grip, or my novel, Helm. If you're a fan of any of these things, me and Danny have always expressed how grateful we are just for any support, whether it's hitting the like button, or sharing with a friend, or rating us on your favorite apps. All of those things are tremendously helpful. But as of right now, Danny and I have launched a Patreon page if you want to take your support just one step further. And I'm not going to go into all of the tiers of support that you can decide. You can check out the website for yourself. But one thing I will add is any patron of Professor Shred will get a shout out on the podcast every episode, and you'll have access to the page, so you'll be able to see everything that we post. And there's going to be, depending on the tiers, there's going to be all sorts of behind the scenes footage and pictures with City of Palms podcast. There could be
bloopers and outtakes for my YouTube channel, concept art and writing I've never released anywhere else. These are going to be things that are only accessible to you. So this isn't just like a GoFundMe and people throwing money at us. We want to give you something in return and to show our appreciation for your support. And anything you can do is we're grateful for. This just gives you one extra step if you want to take that. So there's going to be links to our Patreon page all over social media. Check out my Instagram, prof.shred, and you can see everything there. Thank you so much, and we're going to get back to the episode now.
Welcome back to the City of Palms podcast. I hope you enjoyed the ads. We are back here, and we're going to dive right into the next set of topics. So I want to talk about your day job and how that happened, because, like, okay, so for anyone listening who doesn't know, could you state what you do?
I am a medical marijuana patient educator. So I certify patients for medical marijuana, and I educate them about how to use it, which is really awesome and weird.
And how did that start? Because, like, I don't know. It's only been legal here, or medicinal here for, like,
3 years. Yeah. So in the beginning, it was, like, super... Nobody really got it except for, like, terminally ill. Like, I actually knew about it just because one of my best friends, she was so sick, and, like, I don't even like to talk about it because I want to cry, but, like, she was, like, getting iron transfusions and, like, literally at the Mayo Clinic where they send you when they don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. And she was really fighting for it, and because, like, her body couldn't process pills or anything, and she had to wait 3 months for the frickin' state to approve her. And it was crazy at the beginning. It was so hard for people to get. And now, like, where I work, we make it super easy because we also want you to be just safe and legal and using good products. And some of these people are, like, on their 69th round of chemo, and it's so sad sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then how did you get about in that business? Or
I was actually working at Whole Foods with him, and I was really depressed working there because I was like, dude, I can do so much more. Like, I don't want to serve people. I know I'm capable of more. And I woke up just like I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I went on Indeed and I applied for like 500 jobs. And like in the first day, like 40 called me back. And I actually, before My Florida Green called me back, which I saw them and I was like, what the fuck? And I applied and I was like, dude, I know way too much about it to not do something with it. So I applied, and as I was waiting to hear back, I actually got a laser tag company that literally the job was like setting up laser tag and playing laser tag. And that I was like, dude, this is so cool. But then I got the medical marijuana. I was like, but when I saw that, I was like, this is where I need to be. Because I've always been interested in just the health aspect, because I always read and researched about it and knew about like the test they did where everybody was like, oh, they did a test on monkeys and they overdosed, now people die from it. So I was like, that sounds really weird because, you know, it's a fucking plant. So I researched it and I'm like, oh, so they died because they were hooked up to oxygen masks and had nothing but smoke and no oxygen in their lungs for about 24 hours. So of course they died from oxygen deprivation. Yeah. But the researchers were just like, oh, okay, they died, medical marijuana.
Jeez. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Definitely wanted to get into it.
And so, where do my questions start? So,
yeah, you probably have
because everyone, like, nowadays, like, the big thing is cartridges. Like, a lot of people are doing cartridges, and, like, then I see a lot of people are, like, against it because a lot of, like, there's, like, people are in the hospital for, like, smoking fake ones, or there's, like, pesticides found in some, and, like, I don't know, I'm just curious, like, I don't know, what's your aspect on that, I guess? Or, like, do you think there are fake ones out there and, like, real ones out there? They're like...
Oh, yeah. So, most of the fake ones, like Eureka's, everybody was like, these are coming from California. California's recreational, so these are great. But recreational does not mean shit. Recreational is... everybody wants recreational, but it's really sad because we want it to be legal and federally legal, but recreation sucks. It's great for, like, taxes and for the state, like Colorado is thriving, but for the quality control, you're not overseen by anything, because if someone were to die from something from a dispensary, that's going to go back to the health department, that's going to go back to the state, but for recreation, that's going to go back to the store. That's going to be like food, if someone died of food poisoning, that's going to go back to, like, the restaurant, or going to take quite a while to even get back to what happened. Where in medical, if you go back in anyone's register, you can see exactly where they shopped the second they bought a product, how many milligrams they got, what route they got it in. So if something happened to that person, it can easily be traced back, found out what happened to it. But also, like the results you get with medical, you can see it's what pesticides it's tested for. Like one of our dispensaries down here called Liberty, they actually, one of my coworkers found a bug in her weed, and she was like, oh my God, freaking out. But my boss was like, no. So the thing is that there are bugs that eat the other pesticides that we are using pesticides for. So doing it in an organic way, you're going to use bugs instead of pesticides to eat those other bugs, which is actually awesome because I was like, oh wait, what the hell? But then after he explained it, and he's like, I've been to the grow house, and also all of their tests are published, where in California, everybody was like, oh, Eureka's, also they're so cheap, they're 100% THC. And like when people tell me that, I'm like, you cannot be this stupid. First of all, 100% THC looks like a crystal. You can't smoke it. To vape something, you have to have a carrier. And just like with every other drug, like if a cocaine dealer has a brick of cocaine and they're like, hey, I can sell this whole thing for $50,000, or I can cut it with something and sell it for $100,000. So with the vape cartridges, they're like, hey, we can halfway fill all of these, add canola oil, add freaking silicone, add pesticides, all this shit, and put it on the market because this isn't held to a standard. It's not overseen by anything, whereas in medical, it can be traced back and everything's posted, the lab results. But also recreation, everybody's like, we want this, but in recreation, you can't get anything that's over 100 milligrams. You'll never get an edible that's 150. It has to stop at 100 milligrams. Whereas medical, since it's for a medical purpose, we get 1,000 milligrams. Oh, shit. So you can get 1,000 milligram tincture, 1,000 milligram like oral syringes, and like another thing is like the money. Everybody's like, oh, it's 10 times more expensive than people on the streets, which is a lie because nobody came to my house and they're like, hey, I have White Widow for 20% off today. No. No. If anything, they're like, wait, I have to drive to you. Actually, the stuff I got is really good. It's going to be $40 now. So, whereas the dispensaries, they're like,
my homie vacuum seals it and sends it to me.
Yeah, it's also the name's written with permanent marker, also spelled wrong. And you're like, wait,
Fire or not.
White Witter? What the fuck is that?
Fire or not.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, dog.
And that just sucks also not knowing what it is because, like, even though with marijuana, it's not like cocaine, you're not really going to find fentanyl and, like, this stuff in it, which, I mean, it is possible. Anything's fucking possible in 2019. Let's not go there. But to also just know what you're smoking, because for people with certain issues, like Parkinson's patients or just people with, like, Tourette's, anything that's, like, stressful or anything that's, like, a physical movement, like, an indica is usually better. Whereas even if you're getting it from the street, you don't know what it is, and you could get a sativa that now you're like, okay, now my anxiety is 10 times worse, and now I feel paranoid, and now I'm sitting on the floor staring at the wall.
Dang, so, yeah. Wow.
Also nice to know yourself.
That's true. So, what would, like, have you ever had a patient or somebody come in there, like, I don't know if someone would come in there, or have you ever, like, have you ever heard, like, someone try to argue against it, like, yeah. Like, it's actually unhealthy or whatever, like, trying to say, like, yeah, I don't know, I want to hear your standpoint on that, because you're spitting facts, like, medical facts, I'm like, shit.
I told you, I know way too much.
That's what she do.
But I hear so much, like, I've had a patient tell me, like, he was literally just doing this to get legal, and he's like, I'm still going to smoke my Eureka cartridges, because my guy they're 100% THC, and I get them for really cheap from my guy, and I was like,
oh, your guy.
Why do you think he can sell to you for that cheap, sir? Why do you think if a used car salesman is going to sell you a car for $1,000, do you think that radiator won't break or something within the first month? Like, you don't think there's a reason behind the price? Like, you don't think, and 100%, like, that's just not possible. But I always have, like, also so many people that are like, I don't want to get high. I get that so much because it's adorable, because it's usually like 80-year-old Nancy that's like, I don't want to get high. But also I get the people that are like, I don't want to get high because I don't want to be a junkie and look like a stoner. And then I'm like, oh my God, what does a stoner look like? And And she's like, you know, like a junkie. And then I tell them that I'm like, well, I put probably 50 milligrams of THC in my coffee today, and I'm pretty high talking to you right now. Do I seem like a stoner or a junkie to you? And she's like, you're not high. And I'm like, ho, yeah, I am. And she's like, oh, really? And it's just hilarious because also those are the people that I look at the medications they're on, and they're on fentanyl patches, morphine, oxycodone. It is fucking insane. I'm like, wait, you don't want to get high. First of all, how are you even alive with all of those medications? Like, how are you not dead? But dude, you are like sky high. This is if anything, you're gonna feel less high than you are right now. Like, that's the most that I get. And it's insane because so many, they're like, I don't want to get high. And I'm like, it's not meth. Like, if anything, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to, like, eat everything in your fridge, probably a lot of shit that doesn't go together, and then go to bed. Like, that's the worst thing. Or you're going to, like, sit in the middle of your living room and then just be like, how long have I been here? Like, why am I watching the TV screen and it's off? Like, that's the worst thing you have to worry about.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And even ibuprofen, like there's people like that pop like ibuprofen like it's candy, and it's like,
dude,
it's pretty. That stuff's pretty bad for you too.
Oh yeah, that like even though it's not hurting you, that eventually you're gonna start peeing blood because of what it's doing in your stomach lining, what it's doing in your liver. I actually like the reason why I also started is because I use it for my own issues. I get chronic migraines and I have like a pituitary cyst and like these hormone issues. And marijuana really helps me. And with my migraines, like now that we have like topical lotions you can put on, we have patches, I put on a lotion and I used to take, if I even felt a migraine, I would take 6 ibuprofen. Like that was, I would look at the back and I'd be like, okay, daily dose, 6. So if I take 4 now, and then if I wait 6 hours, maybe I'll, like I have pretty fast metabolism, so maybe I won't die, I don't know. But it's crazy because you're just used to doing it for pain, and when you're in a lot of pain, you're gonna keep doing it, and it's crazy because that you can even overdose on ibuprofen eventually, and like some people with like, I saw a lady today who had memory problems, and she's like, I'm on all these Xanax and all of these medications. She's like, sometimes I don't remember if I take them, and like some of them, if you take 3 of them in one day, like you could stop your heart. And she's like, I have no idea if I took them. Whereas like marijuana, you could literally never overdose. The only way you're gonna die is if you get hit by a truck carrying marijuana. It's the only way you're gonna die from it. If you physically get like hit hard enough with a brick of marijuana. Like, it's the only way you're gonna die. Or like stabbed with a vape cartridge.
If you try to eat it and you choke.
Yeah, basically like you're getting pulled over and you're like doing the Super Troopers thing where he's in the back.
Opening scene, taking everything.
They always say you have to smooth your body.
Which that part makes me so mad.
I heard that.
Because
but I feel like
that's
Snoop Dogg does that.
Probably. He probably does.
Yeah, in a day? Yeah, maybe.
Or
Say
Wiz
you gotta
Khalifa.
smoke your body weight to die. But like,
no,
Wiz
even
Khalifa
then,
does
the
that.
only way you would die from that is if you were deprived of oxygen. Because if you were, you could literally smoke your body weight if you still had oxygen.
Yeah.
So even then, you wouldn't die. Like, it would just be physical. Like, you would have to like hit someone with a large amount of weed to physically like hurt their brain.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
I feel like with sports and stuff, it helps a lot too. Like especially like skateboarding and stuff. Lately, like there's been a lot of like I've seen a lot of pro skateboarders using like CBD lotions and stuff like that for their knees.
Even
and then
CBD, like I used to. Like, I would longboard and skate. I would just, like, go to the God Park by myself because it was open all night. And I would get so high. And, like, if I was not high, like, I would only do things by myself the first time, which was stupid because, you know, you can hit your head pretty fucking hard. And then you're, like, laying on a ramp for, like, 20 minutes. And you're like, fuck, do I have a concussion? Like, should I? Nah, I'm good. But I would do it myself, and I would only, like, have the courage to do anything if I smoked before. So I would just get really high, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it, and then just fucking do it.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Only way I could do it.
And then also the aftermath aspect. Like Bob Burnquist in the 9 Club the other day told the story about him.
When he got hurt.
Broke his ankle and his wrist trying that loop thing, and they had that huge hype to get out of the skate spot, and he was in so much pain. And someone showed up with weed, and he smoked, and it was like that like chilled him out, like his anxiety stopped, and he like really like calmed down, and he was able to like get out of there and get help and stuff.
Dude, for pain, it is like when I get bad migraines, like it's not like a headache where like you have a little headache from listening to like it feels like you're getting like stabbed behind the eye, like you see like a weird, it's called like an aura, I don't know how to really explain it, but you see this like weird kind of light around your eyes, and then like light hurts, sound hurts, smells hurt. And when I get migraine, like I'll take a strong ass edible, and like the other day I had such a bad migraine where I would have taken like 6 ibuprofen and like probably more than that, but I took 2 edibles, like just knocked the hell out. And I did take 1 ibuprofen just because I was out of edibles, and I'm like, I think I need another. And that was it. It's amazing what it does for pain. And it's sad that we just prescribe fucking Vicodin.
Yeah, it's so
like,
addictive too. Like, because you'll take it for the pain, and then you'll just keep taking it because you just want to keep feeling normal and like keep feeding that addiction. And
all of these patients, all of them are like, if they're an addict, most of them are like, yeah, I had back surgery and then I got this. Or like my mom was diagnosed bipolar and then she was prescribed Xanax and she had to go to rehab to be off of them and all of this. And literally, if it wasn't for marijuana, she would have relapsed. Because every time she feels like an urge or anything, she literally smokes, goes away. And like CBD actually brings down the inflammation in your receptors in your brain that actually are for like impulse control. So it actually helps addiction too in that way.
what?
It is insane.
Yeah, CBD works wonders. Like that healed my ankle. I rolled my ankle very bad. Couldn't skate for like 2 months. And after 2 months, I started skating, but still I got like pain walking on it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll buy a bottle of this CBD oil. Like try it. And the whole bottle's gone now, but like my ankle's good. Like, it's good, yeah.
I did the same thing.
Crazy.
It was a while after I tore my knee, but once I came back down, I still had like knee pain a little bit on both knees because of like meniscus damage. And I bought a CBD cream. I bought like a really cheap one though. It's not like the highest. Like I don't remember what exact. There was like 2 that I could choose from. One was pretty expensive, and then one was the cheaper version. And I think it was just like less milligram, like less dose or something like that. And I got that one, and it even helped because I'd have like knee pains at night, and I would just like put that on after like a shower and stuff. And I'm curious because me and Danny talk about this a lot, but I've never been high before. I've never smoked. I've never smoked, never done anything.
All right, I have like 2 different kinds of aids. I got a pre-roll joint. I got. Probably not crumble. You probably, I don't know.
That's what I was wondering, because I was wondering, like, how you said when you have those intense migraines, you took 2 edibles and you're fine. What would happen to someone like me, who's, like, never been high?
Take 2 edibles.
Dude, okay. So
would I just go to sleep, or, like...
Funny story.
No, you might.
The only time I felt like I was on drugs is when I did not smoke for a year, because I was on probation, because I got arrested for weed. And, so I was on probation. My first time coming off, I had a high tolerance, so I was like, I probably can smoke the same amount. I'm gonna be fine. Like, so I was with my friends, and we had like 3 blunts going around 4 people, and I'm sitting there, and in about 10 minutes, I was like, dude, like, wow, like everybody's hands, like I can see, like, and so like, what was that book where it was like the people changing to animals, and you saw like the
Anamorphosis or whatever. Yeah, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They were in every school library.
For real, like turns into a tiger. Like
they sucked. They were so bad. But I would always look at the pictures, and I'm like, damn, I want to be that Asian guy because he was always the tiger. But it was like I would see like the hand following and like catching up to the actual hand. I'm like, wow, and everything was just so slow. Like, I remember going to open the fridge, and, like, the door handle was right here, and I, like, passed it, but it was literally, like, this slow. And I was just watching myself, and I was like, no, I passed the door handle. But, like, it was so, like, but the only thing was, my biggest problem was I felt like I couldn't stand up. And I kept looking at my friend, and they were like, let's go, and I'm like, I can't stand. And they're like, you can stand. I'm like, no, like, I can't. I don't know why, but, like, the part of my brain that's supposed to tell my legs, like, I'm trying to tell them, and they're not doing anything. So I just stayed there, and I just had to be carried in my car. But, like, probably just go to bed. I definitely wouldn't suggest doing, like, edibles for, like, if it was a really light edible, maybe, but the only thing with edibles is they last a lot longer. So if you don't like how you feel, then you're kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is CBD is actually an anti-psychoactive, so it'll cancel out the high if you don't like how you feel, if you're too high. So it's really nice, especially for like my patients that are like 95 years old, and I'm like, dear God, I do not want you to just take something THC. And then Nancy's just like sitting there and she's like, oh my God.
My legs have forgotten how to stand.
Yeah.
My wallpaper is screaming at me. I'm like, do not do that. So I always tell them to like have a bottle of CBD around, because it's happened to me, and like I can tell you from experience it works, because there was just one day at work I had an empty stomach because I was sick the day before, and my coworker had decarbed some shatter he had. And so decarbing is what makes the THC active, because in the raw plant it's THCA, which is what pisses me off about Super Troopers, because he eats the weed and then he gets high, which can't happen with just the plant, because it has to be heat activated or decarbed. So like actually eating the physical plant, you can get the most benefits. It's amazing for you because you get all the other cannabinoids that aren't present when you smoke it.
Just eating a node?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So it is really nice. I don't like to do it because it's really sad, because you're like, just eating a nug and it's just sitting in my stomach just waiting to be smoked, and just my stomach acid now. But like it's nice, like if you want to put like a garnish on pizza or something, because it tastes terrible. But like he decarbed some of that shatter, and I had some of it, but like when your stomach is empty, like it hits you hard. And I have a really high tolerance for edibles, but for some reason, I guess it was like because I hit my pen on top of it or something, but I was so high. And like I had not eaten all day because I thought I had food poisoning the day before because I was puking all day, but it was the first time I actually ate. I was eating again, and my boss was just like cracking up because my eyes were just slits, and like my eyes were so red. I actually have a video of it, and because he took a video as like leverage, and he's just like making fun of me because I was so high, and I'm like, dude, I do not know like why I got so high off of that, but I was like, dude, I can't talk to people, like I just want to eat my blueberries. And so he's like, you need to take this CBD, and I took the CBD, and within literally like 10 minutes I was like sober. I was like, wow, oh damn it, like I was kind of sad because I was like, oh, I didn't want to like to be completely sober, just a little bit, but it was really nice because I was like, if it wasn't for that, I would not have been able to help patients. I would have been like, wait, why are you here? What's your name again? There are sometimes like weed does your like fuck your short-term memory though. Like I'll be talking to a patient and I'll be like sitting there and I'm like, and I'm like looking at like some indicator. Like I have a screen that help. Like we go through like a slideshow with them, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so I'm on that screen, so I have to be talking about this, and I'm like, what the fuck is their name? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. But then I tell them, and I'm like, you see that break I just had there? You'll probably experience that. It's just that's just what happens. You go to your car when you go out, and you're like, where are my keys? And you go upstairs, and you start doing something else, and you go back downstairs, and you're like, where are my keys? And you go back up, and it's like a whole thing. It happens. It happens. Only part. That's bad.
So taking CBD, is that like a tincture or something? Like what do you mean taking?
Yeah. So you can do CBD. You can actually get in like a smokable, like they call it flower, but just like the raw bud. You can get CBD in capsules, in a tincture. Tincture is like the oil under the tongue. That's really the best way to do it because your mucous membranes in your mouth absorb it, so you feel it within like 20 minutes, opposed to you digesting it. And with CBD, you kind of want to feel it more because there's not really like a feeling with it. Like it will take your anxiety away, but especially for that, you want to hold it there so that way you don't have to wait for it, because that'll make you more anxious, definitely.
So you hold it in your mouth?
Mm-hmm. And same with like there's THC tinctures. So just because your mucous membranes are there, if you do that, you'll feel it more initially, as opposed to an edible where you have to digest it and then wait 2 to 3 hours, and you're like,
that's what I always wondered about the lotions and stuff too, especially for like anti-inflammatory properties and stuff like that, like lotioning my knees and stuff. It's not like whenever you eat something or like smoke something where you like feel a certain way. It's like it's hard to like tell if like the pain is going away or like
same
what.
With the THC ones. So like if you put those on, like if I were to put a lotion on right now, I would feel like the effects of the strain. So if it's like an indica, a little more relaxed, sativa, a little more energy. But if you take a hot shower and open up your pores, like I did one time, and I did not know about this at the time, and he just gave me like a back massage, and no joke, I was high for like 16 hours.
Yo, that's like a cheat code.
Honestly, no, it was like 25 because I came from work and I didn't even smoke a bowl, which I always do when I come home, and it was all fucking day, and I had the crazy munchies. It was bad, and I worked at the bakery at the time at Whole Foods. I just kept breaking shit and eating it. I was like, oh no, this cookie's broken.
That's the reason I should not smoke. I got the munchies at all times anyways.
Dude, there are strains that kind of take it away, like the sativas are more energizing, so they kind of take the munchies away, but like the indicas, sometimes like, I don't know what happens. Like, I once put a piece of pizza on a bagel and then ate it, like with cream cheese and everything, but I was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, the 420 Munchies Cafe, if you see anything on their menu, that is like what you eat when you're high. You just get everything that tastes good, like, in the same realm together, and then just, like, put it all in a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, they have a thing called the Fat Sandy, which is literally... Have you had it?
Yeah, well, I haven't had it, but I've seen it. It's like...
When I used
crazy.
to eat meat, I had it. That is the best sandwich I had.
There's like mac and cheese in there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, mac and cheese, chicken patties, chicken nuggets, French fries, tater tots.
In a sandwich.
In a fucking
In a sandwich.
Dude, that's dangerous.
If you go, like, have you ever been to the 420 Cafe? So, like, we should all go. It is so fun. Even if you're not high, it's just fucking good because it's just everything that tastes good in one place.
Because I do that shit anyways. Like, when I go eat fast food, I'll put, like, anytime I get a burger or something, I'll, like, put all the fries on it and, like, stack it up and just, eat
or,
it.
like, Doritos on a sandwich. It's, like, weird shit like that where you're like, why is this not on there already?
Yo, I'd be a monster if I was high, for real.
Oh, my God.
Because I've wondered, because I don't have a lot, like, I don't have, like, constant migraines or, like, anything, like, where I really feel like I need, because people ask, like, why do you not smoke? Why have you never smoked? And it's like, I don't, like, some people thought it was because I was against it. So, like, if they smoke, they would be hesitant to tell me that they smoke. And I'm like, yo, I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want.
Exactly.
I just don't smoke. But, like, they'll ask why. And it's like, I always just say I don't really see a reason to. Except recently, like, the only thing I can think of is my anxiety. Like, I get really lost in my own head. And, like, I get really anxious about stuff, especially, like, social events. Especially because I go alone usually to things like Kava. I always go alone.
If it wasn't for weed, I would not go in public. Like, even coming here, like, I had to smoke because just, like, being out of the house, like, before Kava, I would literally, like, start shaking. And my anxiety gets so bad, like, my hands shake, and I can't even draw. So I'll just get real, whereas the creativity comes out, which is, it's also nice for it. Because sometimes you're, like, blocked, and then you get high, and you're like, holy shit. How did I not think of that before? Yeah. And then you just come up with something weird. But, like, for anxiety... It is, like, there are some mornings I'll wake up and literally, he can vouch for it, like, I will start sobbing because my heart will be beating so fast, and I'm like, dude, I cannot breathe, my heart's beating so fast, and then I'll hit some indica flower, and it is, like, there's a strain that is in this dispensary in West Palm called Move, and it's called Velvet Glove, and it's literally, like, purple. It's beautiful. But it's an indica, and, like, I had really bad anxiety one morning. I took, like, a baby hit off of it, which, like, if I, like, hit flower and I just have one hit of it, like, I'm not gonna get high from it. But I took a tiny little hit from it and my heart started slowing down. I was like, holy fucking shit, I will drive 2 hours to buy this strain just for my anxiety. Because it's amazing for that, and because it doesn't alter your personality. If anything, I feel like it enhances it. You're not a different person, you're not out of control, where even something like Xanax, it's still taking away your emotions, which we're human, we're supposed to feel angry and all of these things, and even anxiety sometimes, just not in those large amounts or for no reason when, like, you're overthinking and then now you put yourself in an anxious place. Yeah. But with those, they take all of those away, where marijuana just calms you down to where you're like, okay, and for, like, the times where you're even depressed, like, that's why I started smoking in the first place. Like, not really when I first initially, like, in high school and, like, freshman year and stuff. I did it, like, honestly, just, like,
experimental.
To try it. Yeah. And then once I found, like, what it did for me before I would go to, like, my dance classes, because I would have so much anxiety, because I'm like, if I don't have, like, this count right, if I didn't have something right, I knew my dance teacher was like, I was close with her and her daughter, so, like, she pulled me by my hair out of class if I was talking. Like, I had dance teachers, like, sit on my backs and splits. Like, I would have such bad anxiety going in. And then I noticed, like, when I started smoking before, like, recitals and everything, it would take my anxiety. Oh, my God. It made me perform so much better to where, like, I didn't give a fuck about anybody in the crowd, which was, like, my big thing, or, like, messing up. And, like, one time I totally fucked up a part and I was like, everybody's gonna notice. And I just started doing something like that was completely freestyle, but went with the whole dance. And I like just went into the whole dance like it was I was supposed to do it. And when I saw the video, I was like, holy shit, I was so fucking high. I didn't even think about that. I just fucking did it. Like, it is amazing for those. Like skating, oh my God. Especially just like so many nights, especially if I was like sad or anything, I would just take my longboard, like smoke a joint, and like go to the Vanderbilt parking garage and just like go down every time. And just like, it's so nice when you're high and you're just like appreciating nature and you're bored. And
yeah, like sometimes I feel like if I were to need it for any aspect, it would be that. Because like the only thing that I use if I am going to like, because I go to most things alone, so I think like that's when my anxiety is heaviest, when I think like, I don't know anybody, like, what, am I going to be awkward, am I going to be weird?
Or
like,
if you don't know anybody there and you're like, fuck, if I don't know anybody there, like, who am I going to hang out with?
Yeah, like, what, I'm just going to stand in the
like,
corner, everyone's going to be looking at me, and like, when you're there, you're thinking everyone's looking at you, and you're just like, you get that feeling in your chest.
Especially if you have your art, because you know people are going to look at it, but then you're like, fuck, if you ask me a question, like, am I going to, like, stutter?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know you, are you going to like me, are you going to like my art?
And the one thing that has, like, helped is, like, I'll drink a little bit or something, just, like, loosen up, like a lot of people do, but because I go to so many things alone, I'm trying to be responsible. I'm not gonna drive if I'm like any sort of like drunk at all. So I usually won't drink at all unless I like drink like one drink right when I get there, and then like I'll be good by the time I leave. I usually won't drink at all just because I'm nervous about I am there alone. I'm leaving alone, and like I'm driving myself, so I just won't drink or whatever. And then so I'll just feel all the anxiety.
You feel everything.
Yeah.
But something you might like, so like. A lot of products, what I recommend to patients that like don't really smoke is they have combination things, which are like CBD and THC. But that since the THC or the CBD is in there, it kind of counteracts the THC since it's the anti-psychoactive. So if you have like a ratio of like 5 part CBD to 1 part THC, that's going to counteract a lot of it. But it's nice because for someone who hasn't really smoked, or because like a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to get a cartridge, and I'm like, that is an extract of THC. Like, in the flower form, it's like 27 to like 30%, 15%. You'll never see like 50% bud, ever. It's just not going to be available with all the other cannabinoids present. But when they go for like an extract where it's like 80, 90% THC, it's like, you're gonna get so high, like your first little baby hit. Whereas that, you're gonna feel, it's like putting your foot, like, instead of jumping in a cold ass pool, you're slowly putting your foot in, getting used to it, and then you're like, okay, feeling this slowly and more initially, you get a nice tolerance. But it is nice, especially for those events where you're like, okay, I can drive myself home, and you can like go to your car, hit your vape for a second, like at Kava. Like anytime I disappeared and nobody could find me for like an hour, we were always in the car or always by the side just smoking a joint. Because sometimes like when it started getting really big, I was getting so much anxiety because I would also be setting people up. And like one thing I hated is Kava wanted to charge for the tables, and I'm like, these people are my friends. So me going up to a table, especially when they gave me the clipboard and like you do that, I was like, you're making me go up to my friends with a fucking clipboard and be like, hi, sign in, can I take your money too? Like, I would have so much anxiety every time. I would save it for the end because I just, like, couldn't do it. I would have to get so hot before I did it. And then I could do it without anxiety. But it is so nice just being able to, like, take the edge off without being, like, a different person or getting drunk and not being able to drive yourself because it's such a burden having to have your car somewhere and then Uber or find a ride or... even just have that issue. Yeah,
and being drunk, I feel like, I don't know what it's like to be high, so I can't compare, but, like, I feel like being drunk, you are kind of like a different person a little bit, and that's why you don't really care, because you kind of, like, transform into this, like, drunk version of yourself, so you're just, like, saying, I never really get like drunk at events or whatever unless I'm like here. But like I couldn't even imagine. Like I don't know. I get embarrassed sometimes when I'm just here and there's like my close friends. I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, man, what kind of stuff did I say? You know what I mean? Like, imagine being in an event, dude. Holy shit.
The good thing about like weed is instead of being drunk where you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna text my ex and I'm gonna call this person, all this stuff. When you're high, you're like sitting there and you're like, okay, so if I send that text message, they could have this reply, and then they could say this. So is it really a good idea to send that text message? I'm gonna sit here. So you just like you just look at it more real. Exactly. And like the good thing is, I hate drinking. Like I don't even remember the last time I drank, but I hate it because like even though I like sometimes having like a little bit to have fun or whatever, I can never go home and like paint or like do art or something if I drink. Whereas if I smoke, if anything, I'm like, holy shit, like I'm getting some ideas now. Yeah. Like I'm gonna go home and if anything, I'm like waiting to go home and get out of there because I'm like, okay, I need to do this piece. Yeah. But now I'm like all hyped up to do it. Like especially certain strains. Like there's White Buffalo Sativa. If I smoke that, me and my boss smoked it the other day, and we were just sitting there, and I'm like, dude, we thought of the best idea. I'm like, biodegradable hemp water bottles, but my Florida green. Like, now we're like throwing around water bottle ideas, which, and then I got home, and I'm like, dude, I have so many fucking ideas, like I have t-shirt ideas, and now I have like candle ideas and all of this shit. It's so cool. It's so nice, but you're still the same person. Yeah. Where you're drunk, you're like, you think of an idea and then you read it the next day and you're like...
And that's another thing is when you're drunk, like that's the reason I don't drink a whole lot is because you're consuming a whole bunch of something and it's like usually like it's either super sugary or like, you know, it's like not very good for you. Like and... Yeah, and so like if you were to get drunk, you gotta like drink a certain number of drinks and that's like things you're consuming into your digestive system. So like for someone who's health conscious, if you're drinking really sugary drinks or whatever, it's like I like kind of think about that, and I feel like smoking is like a different type of consumption. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and actually with like alcohol, whereas you're like killing your liver, you're killing your stomach lining, so many bad things for you. Not only can you like kill someone driving a car, but like what you're doing to yourself, and you can overdose on it. Like you can get alcohol poisoning and die. Yeah. And marijuana, actually, we have an endocannabinoid system inside our body, which is actually funny because we literally have cannabinoids inside it that almost identically match the plant. So to have something illegal that is literally a form inside us is kind of funny. Like when women breastfeed and you see the baby and it's like lethargic, it's literally kind of high because it's having cannabinoids from the mom's breast milk as well. And so with medical cannabis, honestly, smoking doesn't really do the best for you. Like it's great because you get an instant relief and everything, but for our endocannabinoid system, if we replenish it and eat the cannabinoids and metabolize them and replenish that system, we can go back to homeostasis, which is how humans were supposed to be, where if you got sick, if you got anything, your body's gonna fight that off. Your body's gonna, instead of going for vaccines and doing all this, your body's gonna do that for you. Okay, you have a headache, we're counteracting that, we're fixing it. You have this infection, we're fixing it. But we kind of destroyed that system with, you know, the second we're birthed, we're like, okay, take the baby out, let's do this, this, and this. Okay, now you can have your baby. So even from birth, that system is so corrupted. But with having it replenished, we can soon go to a state where we can just naturally heal ourselves. So honestly, it's doing so much to help your body. And for like people who have like cancer of the liver, stuff like that. We've had people, there was a guy who had, I think it was a tumor on his liver. It was somewhere inside, but I think it was on his liver. And he was taking RSO, which is a different kind of extract a lot of cancer patients take. He thought he had a kidney stone. He peed out his fucking tumor, his cancerous tumor. It shrunk so much that he peed it out.
What the hell?
Yeah. Wow. It is insane. Like the guy who made the extract of RSO, he made it for his melanoma, put it on his arm under a Band-Aid for 4 days, and his melanoma was fucking gone. He went to the doctor. He went to the doctor originally. He was diagnosed with melanoma. When he went back, it was undetectable. He did not have it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Jeez.
It is insane. And to think about all the stigma and propaganda, like we had the movies Reefer Madness and all this bullshit where it was essentially thought to as crack because Big Pharma can't own a plant. They can't patent a plant. and something that's gonna heal you to where you go there one time and you're done, they don't want that. They want a pill because it's 2019. There are ways to make something where it's not gonna, here's a side effect of you're gonna go deaf, you're not gonna see, your head's gonna explode, all this stuff. It is possible to do that without those effects, but why would you do that when you can get money for that? Why would you have a cure for cancer when chemotherapy costs so much? Like the guy who bought the AIDS medication. If you look at his interview, the woman was like, because he changed the price to $1,000 per pill. It was over $1,000, and so many people couldn't afford it. And she was like, why did you do that? And his exact words were literally, if you are dying, you'll pay to live.
Damn.
So,
Wow.
it, they wanted people to think it was like crack because, if they can't own it and make money off of it, and even if they made money off of it and could patent a plant, if we lived in that world, this would not even be a thing. People would be growing it in their backyards. People would be making, this would be made out of hemp, your phone would be made out of hemp, everything would be made out of hemp. But since hemp would take over essentially every paper, clothing, every kind of fabric company, and medical marijuana would take over big pharma, which also is how the doctors go on all their vacations. If I was a doctor and a pharmaceutical rep for Xanax came in and I signed a contract with them, and someone came in, since that's an anxiety medication, if you came to me and you were like, okay, I have anxiety, if I have a contract with them and I do not prescribe you Xanax, I'm in malpractice. So you have to, when you have it, that's why they push those drugs, because they're like, I'm in a contract with them, which means I get money from them. So I'm going to prescribe this to you, even if you don't want to take it, even if I know, hey, this 6-year-old maybe shouldn't be on Adderall, but, I have that contract with them, so I'm going to do what's going to give me money and give me that vacation in the Bahamas.
Dude, that's sad to think about.
Yeah.
One of the most important aspects of the country, medicine,
dude,
is so fucked up.
It is so sad. The people who own the opiate companies, ask them if they take any of their drugs. No, because they would literally all be dead from overdosing. The amount of patients I see that are addicted from being in surgery or being prescribed it, or the amount of patients that I see because they went, at a patient whose daughter was perfectly fine. She had a seizure one day, and they took her to the doctor, saw something in her brain, gave her brain surgery. Now she's mute, she can't talk, she can't read, she can't do anything for herself, and she has the mind of a 6. She can't do anything.
Wow.
Jeez.
It is all because of a doctor thought he saw something and did the wrong procedure. We see so many malpractice people. People who have staples left inside them after something that punctured, their kidney, and then they had to get a kidney transplant. It's insane. And you're like, what the fuck? I can tell you now, I'm never going to get surgery. I don't care if it's brain surgery. I'll be like, you know what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've never had surgery either, and I hope I never have to, because, dude, that's scary.
Oh, yeah.
Has there anybody any patient that's, completely switched over from, you said you used to, when you pull them up, you could see, what they've been taking and shit. Has there anyone that's, used to take, Xanax and all that shit, and now they just take THC?
One of my last patients today, he had MS, and he had fentanyl patches. He had, what else was he on? Morphine, oxycodone, hydrocodone, Xanax, and gabapentin, and he doesn't take anything now. He doesn't take ibuprofen.
That's
We've
awesome.
had so many people that are on 19 medications that are not on any of them now. We've had people on methadone, which is funny because meth addicts, they give them methadone, which is literally one compound away from being meth, and they're like, oh, here, this will get you sober. Fuck rehab, fuck getting better. Let's just give you this, but you'll have to, you'll get addicted to this, and then you'll have to withdraw from that.
Yeah,
don't worry about that.
Yeah,
later.
right.
We have people that are off of methadone and everything, and they're like, I've been doing this for years. I was a meth addict, and now I don't even take a pill.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It is insane.
Changes the way you look at shit, because as we grew up, weed was the devil's lettuce, and now it's
it's so
just
funny
crazy.
because my parents were always I saw my parents smoking joints when I was 5. My mom told me now, since I worked here, that on the way to have me in the birthing center, because she didn't go to a hospital since we're more on the natural side, she went to the birthing center and she's like, I smoked a joint on the way. She's like, I smoked all throughout my pregnancy, and I'm like, wow. makes sense. Like, I have a pretty high tolerance. Something. But, like, it's crazy because, like, my parents were never, like, they never made me afraid of it. They're like, if you're going to do it at home. Like, the first time I came home high, my mom just, like, laughed at me and, like, would smoke with me and everything. But, like, the people all my friends who were super strict parents would, like, come over to smoke. The second they turned 18, they were doing coke. They were doing all this shit where, like, I smoked and I was like, it's not a gateway drug because I don't fucking need to do anything else.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, like, once you, like, take it away for someone, when I got arrested for marijuana, that's when I wanted to actually do something else because I was like, or when I started smoking Black and Milds because I was like, well, now I need, like, smoke or something because, like, now I want to fucking smoke weed. I have anxiety. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Dude, we gotta, with these great talks for our past 2 episodes, we gotta start taking 3 ad breaks. For real, you know? But no. One last thing that I do want to, because last time he said that you had some crazy stories. We always end the episode with ghost stories or paranormal stories or anything unexplainable. And you can choose either just one good one or you can tell a couple, like whatever you want to do. I just want to know what you've been through.
So, my weirdest one. So, I was coming home, and I was, like, at a weird place in my life, and both my parents my dad was actually in prison, and my mom was in rehab at the time, so I was pretty depressed. And I went longboarding, as I do when I was depressed, and I just felt like something so weird all night. Like, I was, like, being watched. And when I got home, I was putting my longboard in my trunk, and I go to shut my trunk, and, like, the side, in my peripheral vision, I saw, like, this bigger like shadow figure with like a hat on, and I was like, I felt like I knew him. It was the weirdest fucking feeling because like I wasn't afraid. I was just like, in my head I was just like, hi, but I looked and I was like, and I looked over and it was gone. I was like, that was weird. And so all night I was like, I kept thinking about it and I was like, what the fuck was that? Because ever since I was little, like I would tell my mom I couldn't go in like graveyards or certain old houses because I would feel feelings and I would be like, something happened here and I can't be inside. Or like when something really bad would happen, I would feel it the whole day before and then something bad would happen. So I like felt something super weird. I'm like, all right, some shit is going down and like that figure had something to do with it. And the next morning I woke up to a voicemail from my grandma that my grandpa died. And that when I started to think about it, like my grandpa always wore a hat like that, was bigger, everything. And at the same time, she told me that he died was literally 10 minutes after I saw the figure.
What?
It was
like I'm out later.
So fucking weird. It was crazy. So weird. And I told my dad, like, when my dad got out and we finally talked about it, he was like, because it was really hard because he was, like, in prison when his dad died. And, like, for some reason, like, I wanted to write in a letter to him, like, because I felt like my grandpa was just, like, telling me to tell my dad, like, it's okay. Like, you didn't have to be there. It was fine. Like, and I wanted to tell that to my dad, but, like, I didn't want to write that in a letter. And I told him that, and he just started crying. He was like, I literally thought that same thing. Like, it's like he told me that in a dream, that it was okay. Like, I shouldn't feel guilty. Like, there was nothing I could do. And I was like, it was so fucking weird. It was so weird. I hate it sometimes because I can't go places if I like feel too much.
Yeah,
shit there.
I bet.
Like,
That's why, I always say, I've never had any crazy stories, but stories like that are why I do believe that there's like some, whether it's like ghosts or whatever you want to call it, like some sort of like spiritual presence. Because there's some things that you just can't explain. Like you cannot explain. That's just way too big of a coincidence.
Exactly. Like when I found that out, that's why I sent a text right after I shut my trunk. And that was what made me look up, because I think the light is why I originally saw the figure. Mm-hmm. And I looked back at the text message time and then at the voicemail time from my grandma, and I was like, no, this is fucking weird. And she was like, that whole night he was just not doing well, and like that whole night I was just like, felt like something was wrong, and like I felt helpless for some reason. And I always feel like whenever something, like when I was younger, my mom got a DUI and like a lot of stuff happened like with my dad and everything. And every time one of those things happened, even if I wasn't there, like I knew something was happening, like with my mom or my dad. And I would like go to whoever, like if I was at a friend's house, I'd be like, you need to take me home because I need to see my dad. And one time I said that, and my dad had actually been brought to the hospital for alcohol poisoning. But I was just, for some reason, I was like, I need to go home. like, I'm so worried about my dad. I would feel like this separation anxiety. It's so crazy.
Dude, the human brain, like, cause, like, I think, I don't get it nearly that bad, but, like, sometimes you will just get, like, kind of a weird feeling, you know what I'm saying? And, like, sometimes it parallels with crazy things happening in your life. Does that ever, like, has that ever happened to the point where it makes you scared? To where, like, not only, like, that, where you're kind of, like, premenacing something happening, but, like, just kind of, like, getting that weird feeling? Have you ever had any stories where that's, like, been a really scary thing or something like that?
Yeah, actually, in my last relationship, like, it was really abusive and everything, and, like, the day that I, like, ran out of the house and, like, called the cops and everything, like, I woke up in the morning and I literally, like, my first thought in my head was, I'm gonna die. Like, it was so weird, but I was like, I feel like this is my last day. Like, for some reason, I can't picture myself being older. I can't picture tomorrow. Like, I can't picture myself waking up tomorrow. And that was, like, my first thought. And, like, it happened, like, at, like, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up at 9. And, like, he was still sleeping, and I was like, this is just, like, not fucking good. And, he was fucking insane. So I saw something online a couple days earlier where it was a thing on your iPhone, which, if anybody doesn't know this is the best thing about an iPhone. If you are ever in a place where you're not safe, if you have in your settings, I think it's under your, like, emergency or something, if you press your lock button 5 times, it'll automatically call the cops.
What?
So I saw that, and I was like, for some reason, I feel like I need to put this on my phone. And I put it on my phone, and, like, he, like, did a lot of, like, bad things to me, but, like, he was, like, I lost consciousness and everything, but I saw my phone under the bed, because I knew he was going to throw my phone. He always, like, got my phone away from me so I wouldn't call the police or anything. And I reached for my phone under the bed, and I hit it 5 times, and I just, like, kicked him and fucking ran out of the house. And that whole day, I was like, if I did not put that on my phone, how I woke up is probably how I would have ended up. But for some reason, something in my head was like, if you don't put this on your phone right now, like, how you woke up is going to happen. It was...
That's insane.
The
That's
weirdest.
so crazy.
Like, I'll get these things where, like, if I have an urge or something, like, there's a reason for it. Like, I have to do it. And there's always... It's so fucking weird. I hate it sometimes, but I love it because, like, if I didn't have that urge... he probably would have killed me, honestly.
Has that ever prevented you from doing anything? Like, let's say, like, maybe you're, like, going to a concert or something, you get some, like, really overcome with some crazy feeling, and you're like, I don't think I'm gonna go. Has that ever, like, made you not do something?
Actually, yeah, but I ended up doing it, and I found out why. So, I always wanted to go to Warped Tour, because I just loved just, like, fucking rock music, and screamo, and just, like, skate, and Warped Tour was just, like, the place to go.
Yeah.
So, I finally got tickets to go, and with all my friends, and I was so excited, but something was I was supposed to go to a concert. This was, like, right around the thing with my grandpa, and that prevented me from going to a concert, like, the next day. So I was, like, in a weird place, but I was like, you know what, I have a weird feeling, but you know what, maybe it's just, like, all the stuff with my grandpa. So I was putting it off, and I still went. So I was at Warped Tour, and since I'm small, I went on my friend's shoulders. And there was, like, a DJ playing. I didn't know who the fuck it was, because I was there to, like, see Mayday Parade and see, like, 303. The person, like, my 13-year-old self was like, ah! Like, fucking dying. Except Didn't Remember wasn't there, so I was sad. But, so, I'm on my friend's shoulders, and the DJ's like, get him up, like, talking to all the people on the shoulders, and then he, like, points to this kid, and he's like, crowd surf him, and then he points to me, and he's like, crowd surfer, and I just screamed, like, not trying to crowd surf, but these 2, like, giant-ass dudes in front of me just heard crowd surf, and just grabbed my legs, like, I crowd surfed for, like, a good 5 minutes, and then, like, the beat dropped, and I just remember being, like, I weigh, like, 90 pounds, and I just remember being thrown so fucking high that I saw everybody's head. And I go back down, and this giant kid, before, like, everybody was, like, throwing water on each other, so everybody was slippery and sweating, this kid tried to grab me. Like, I had cuts up my back, like, on my face of his nails trying to grab me, and I landed right on my fucking head from, like, 40 feet in the air.
Dude, I've heard stories like that.
That was also, like, my 8th concussion. So,
what?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I have brain damage. But I hit so fucking hard, but, like, for some reason, I won a hat that day, and my only concern was, like, where the fuck is my hat? And even afterwards, like, I threw up in the ocean. Like, I was like, yep, there is 110% chance I have a concussion.
Damn.
But I was like, I'm at Warped Tour, so I'm fucking, like, living it up. And then I went in a wall of death in the mosh pit afterwards. And I kicked a guy in the chest because he punched a girl. So it was definitely worth it. But I found out, I was like, that feeling was probably because you were going to get fucked up. So now I try to listen to those because usually, like, I'll go and shit like that happens. Like, I'll always get a weird feeling, and then, you know, like, I fucking eat shit at the skate park because I tried to go down a half pipe on my longboard and thought it was a good idea, but I had a weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got another concussion, just laid there for like a good 30 minutes, and I had to go home, and I'm like, hey, Mom, you want to bring me to the hospital?
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, definitely should listen to the feelings a little more.
Sometimes I wonder if like, you've, like, something bad will happen, and then you just, like, you dwell on it, and you think, like, what if I just hadn't gone, or, like, hadn't done this? Like, when I hurt my knee, I remember the months and months of recovery, I was just thinking, like, if I just wouldn't have gone skating that day, or, like, if I wouldn't have been skating that spot by myself, or, like, I went right after work, and I wasn't even warmed up, I just wanted to get the trick, and I was like, if I would have went about it smarter, and, like, went on a day off, or, like, warmed up before, like, I probably wouldn't have, like, torn my knee. But, like, and I don't think I had any weird feelings the whole day, though. Like, because usually, like, sometimes you do. You get that, like, weird, like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'll just do it, especially with skating. You're like,
yeah,
maybe I shouldn't. But I just always take that to be, like, fear. Like,
exactly.
obviously
You're
you're
like,
gonna get a
I'm
weird
just going to
feeling.
push through it.
Yeah, but although, actually, I like to think, like, I try to think on the bright side, and I think if I ever do not do something because I get too weird of a feeling, I think, well, good job, because you actually probably would have died that day or something.
Exactly.
Like, when I skated the 11 stair a couple months ago, I was going to try a really hard trick down it, and, like, I knew, because with my knee, like, if I didn't commit to it, like, with skateboarding, if you don't commit, like, you're going to fuck yourself, especially over a huge stair set. So I was thinking, like, going fakie down it, if I were to kick away and, like, bitch out and land on my my knee that I tore, I could fuck it up again.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole time, I was, like, going to do it in a line. I was, like, going to do a trick on the bench and then push, and then go over the huge stair set fakie. And the whole time, I kept getting to the end of the stair, and I would just, like, stop. And I'm like, okay. And, like, trying to hype myself up. And I kept getting this weird feeling of, like, maybe you shouldn't try this today. Because, like, this girl was there that none of us knew, and she kept, like, flirting with all of us. And I was like, fuck. And she kept trying to talk to me, and I'm like, listen, I straight up told her, I was like, I need to, like, get in the zone right. Yeah. I was like, I need to get in the zone right now, so shut the fuck up, for real. Like, or leave.
Dude, I hate those girls.
Yeah.
Like, why do you, like... I never understood that, because I'm like, at least I have, like, they would always look at me, and I'm like, girl, like, I'm fucking skating right now. Like, you're literally just here fucking watching the guys.
Dude,
like, grab a board and fucking try something.
When I was, like, feeling out the stairs and, like, jumping down it and, like, kind of, like, getting the feel of, like, the impact, she was, like, talking about my friend that was gonna show up soon, because, like, we were all meeting up there to film and, like get multiple angles, and she was, like, talking about my friend, and she's like, so what is he into? Like, what should I talk to him about? And I was like,
I'm trying to fucking concentrate
shut
right
the
now.
fuck
I
up.
don't know, ask him.
The only thing I'm thinking is where I need to pop. Like,
Exactly.
And so, but, like, that whole time, I was trying it for, like, an hour, and I never ended up trying it. I kept doing the trick on the bench, push, and then I would stop, and then, like, I kept thinking, like, there's gonna be one try. I know that for a fact. And that one try is either gonna be, I'm gonna roll away, or something's gonna happen, and I'm not gonna be able to, like, try again. So I just thought, like, do I just try it, and, like,
maybe fuck
yeah, so
myself
I got a
while.
weird feeling. So since, like, to this day, I just think, like, maybe something really bad would have happened if I would have tried it. So I'll just try it another time.
Most of the time, I'm glad.
Yeah,
Sometimes I won't do it, but, like, I don't have that little thing in my head that's just like, don't do it. It's just like that voice is just like, do it, overpowering it. So
Yeah.
I'm like the first time I went down a half pipe, I literally did it on my longboard. Like,
Wow.
I'm small. That was like, my longboard weighs more than me, and for some reason I was like, I can do this on a skateboard. I can do it on a longboard. It's not the same. I was just like, yeah, we're gonna, like, didn't even think, and I just went down, just fucking, like, flew and hit just the top of the ramp, the fucking metal part.
Oh, wow.
And I just laid there, and I'm like, you know, if you would have just, like, thought that through a little more.
Yeah.
And, like, literally the next day I go back, and I'm like, okay, I'll think it through this time. And then nope. But I like it, because then it pushes me to do more things. But
Yeah.
it scares Nick, because he thinks I am, like, an adrenaline junkie. So I'm like, I just want to, like, go in a mosh pit and, like, just, like, throw hands. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's fine. Like, nobody, like, if someone punches me in the face, like, I will definitely, like, you guys have penises. Like, I know how to hurt you.
Dude, it is a good feeling. For real.
Right? Like, it's...
Dude,
It's been a good episode.
I know, for real, bro. This flew by, for real.
For real.
How long has it been?
This second half has been 60 minutes, so we've gone 80 minutes.
Yeah.
No, more.
An hour and 40 minutes.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, how long are your episodes usually?
An hour.
Usually an hour.
What's the longest one? Casey Parks, I think, was the longest. We went
Dude,
for like an hour
okay.
and 45 minutes.
That makes sense because when me and Casey lived together, like, Nick would get mad because me and Casey both get really loud and, like, we'll just end up screaming at each other just because we're talking and we're excited about something.
Yeah, we talk about aliens or some shit.
Oh, yeah. And, like, Nick would be like, are you guys, like, he would think we're fighting and we're like, we're just having a conversation. But, like, we would talk for hours about the most random fucking shit. And it would be so funny. And then Nick's like, why are you guys screaming at each other? And I'm like, we're excited about what we're talking about.
Bush did 9/11.
That is right. Dude, if it's me and Casey, there have been so many of those conversations where we're just, like, thinking about weird shit like that. And I'm like, but wouldn't that make sense? He's like, yeah. And then we think about a whole, like, circumstance. Does not surprise me that he's the second longest one.
Dude, yeah, this is why we gotta have repeat guests pretty soon. Like Sling, we gotta get back on.
Yeah, we gotta upgrade this piece.
I know, we gotta get more microphones because I'm trying to make like a group setting
In
type
a lounge area over
in
there.
a lounge area. We'll update it. We're gonna update it, but heck yeah! Do you have anything you want to shout out before we call it an episode? I mean, you talked a lot about what you currently do, and everyone's probably filled in on that because that was interesting.
Get your medical marijuana card. Message me on Instagram if you have questions. I have a link so you can get a discount. But
your art Instagram is different than your personal, right?
yeah, it's Darby Neil Art for my art Instagram, and then I don't even know what my personal is.
Darbles.
Oh yeah.
He's spitting facts.
I know my Instagram.
I'm like, I don't even know my personal account. Honestly, like, I'm so bad at Instagram now. I'm trying to get back to being better.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard.
I get so drained from work because I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just talked about weed for so long in the same, like, for 8 hours. I'm like, I can't even look at anything right now.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this has been a good episode. Thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, this has been
so
great.
much fun.
You got anything you want to say before we go?
Just
you guys got to come back to skate. That's 100%.
Yes. We was talking and he's like, I forgot my board, and me and I have a day where we come back in like the daytime and everything.
Yeah, just like
just
skate or
because I
something.
haven't skated in so long.
For sure. Yeah, and we got the ramps.
Right, you guys have a ball.
All right, it's getting toasty in here, so let's call it an episode.
Warm. Just plug the Instagram, plug City Palms.
Yeah, so you obviously you can check
every Monday. City Palms Instagram, City Palms Podcast. Instagram, follow it. It's getting so hot in here. Thank you guys.
And also, we say this all the time, but we love your support. Thank you for liking and watching and sharing. But
subscribe.
Do everything. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, do all that stuff. And then also just spread the word a little bit. Whether you just tell your friends or whether you share it on Facebook or whatever, like share the video podcast, tell people like, hey, they talk about some interesting stuff. We post highlight clips, so if you don't have time to watch a full hour and a half or hour or whatever, you probably do. Be real with yourself. You probably do.
Liars.
While you're driving.
Instagram, on Twitter, in your bed for 12 hours when you can watch a video.
Just pop on a podcast. You know, we all got internet. So, but if you don't, we post highlight clips on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. And the Patreon page. I talked about that in the last episode, and you probably saw it in the ad break. We got a Patreon page. We're going to put content that doesn't go into the episode, maybe things we cut, things like that. So just keep updated. Thanks for watching so much. This has been episode 27 with Darby Neil. Hit him with the outro, Biscuit.